It's January in the Pacific Northwest. And while many have packed away their outdoor gear for the winter, for those willing to confront the often unpredictable seasonal weather, seeking adventure this time of year can bring a uniquely rewarding experience. And after a picture-perfect day spent exploring the area where the West Coast's largest river meets the world's largest ocean, I met up with David from Off the Grind. Our plan was simple: to explore deep into the forests of southwestern Washington. Mother Nature, however, had other plans, with a powerful and unforecasted coastal storm throwing our plans into chaos and pushing our resolve to the brink. Well, good morning. It is early o'clock. Well, not that early because the sun is up now. I had a chance to make a little bit of coffee. It's a pretty cold night last night. We are here in Southwest Washington, currently at Cape Disappointment State Park. And I say we because I met up last night with David from Off the Grind, who you may recognize, and we're just going to spend the weekend exploring down here in southwestern Washington. Really looking forward to it because I have never been down here before. And so we're just gonna see what we find, and I think we'll get underway, hopefully find some views, and hopefully this rain doesn't start coming down too heavy. But anyway, it should be a fun day. Having just jinxed myself, it did start to rain, and heavily.
Well, we just grabbed a little bit of breakfast in Long Beach, just trying to strategize on what we want to do. The weather has definitely turned faster than we thought. It is raining heavily, and somewhat concerning is there is quite a bit of wind coming in. And so we're just a little bit worried about potential blowdown along the roads that we're going to explore. But we looked at a bunch of other areas that we could possibly go, and none of them seem to be any better. So we're going to stick with our plan and explore the areas that we had aimed for originally, and just kind of see how it goes. So we'll see where the day takes us, and hopefully this rain lets up. Fingers crossed.
All right, so we hit our first stop of the day, which is a lake of some name and some description. It's on the sign right there. And what is this lake? Western Lake. It's a beautiful lake. There's a couple campsites here. Walked around the lake a little bit. Unfortunately, the weather is still not cooperating, so it has been a little bit of a challenge to try and kind of film things along the way, but that's okay. We've got another lake that we're gonna check out that is close by, and then we've got a couple other cool spots to check out and explore. So far, we're not letting the rain stop us. We're having a lot of fun out here. The day's just getting started, and on to the next lake. This, I think, is Snag Lake, and another beautiful, beautiful lake, but still a little bit too early to set up camp, so we're gonna keep on going, push through this rain. Hopefully it'll get a little bit nicer, and we've still got one or two more awesome spots that David's got set up for us to explore. Leaving the lake behind, the road began a steep climb as it wound its way up to the top of what is now known as Radar Ridge, which, shortly after World War II, became the site of one of 3 aircraft control warning radar stations located along the Washington coast. Going by the call sign Ground Photo Timothy, its primary purpose was to provide early warning for the perceived threat of inbound Russian bombers. So we've reached our next stop, which was the top of a ridge. This is called Radar Ridge, and we can see absolutely nothing because it is all fogged in with the weather. But some cool history up here. There's not a whole lot to see now. In fact, it looks like a lot of it may be in commercial use at this point, but kind of neat. And it is not the day to camp at the top of this ridge, but on a nice day with no clouds, I suspected this would be a beautiful spot. So we might mark this one on the map and come back later. But we've got one more spot to check out, and it's a little bit of a drive, so I think that's where we're gonna head and see if we can find an epic campsite for the night. So tell me this is the most beautiful day you've ever had in Washington State.
It's pretty stunning. It's hard to beat this type of weather, honestly.
Okay, it's getting windy. Back in the truck.
Unpleasant.
In truth, conditions had become more than just unpleasant. The soaking rain was now accompanied by increasingly heavy winds, and the thought of setting up camp seemed like a worse idea with each passing minute. Desperate for options, David put out a call to his brother, who was out exploring far north of our location.
So I'm talking to my brother right now, and he's on the north end of the home main line. He said the sun's trying to poke out, and it hasn't been raining there for like 20 minutes. We still might have time to like beeline it up there if we determine that's the way to go.
Yeah, sounds good. After some discussion, we did determine it was the way to go. And in a somewhat ironic bid to find drier weather, we pointed the trucks north, bound for what is quite possibly the wettest place in the entire continental United States. You know what, I have to say, there's something to be said for being out here in the rain and the mist and the inclement weather that feels very Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more Pacific Northwest than this. All right, well, you ready for a water crossing?
All right, so we just turned off the main Forest Service road that we were on, jumped onto this little spur road where we're hoping to find camp for the night, and we were greeted with our first obstacle, which is a bit of a big puddle. And it kind of just goes and goes and goes, and we got to get through it if we want to get to this campsite. So that is what we're going to try and do. Let's see how this goes. All right, well, that wasn't bad at all. The bottom was super firm, but there was one more puddle that we had to get through in order to get to camp. Let me show you what it looks like. It didn't look particularly daunting or challenging. It's not as big as the first puddle, but man, the bottom was a lot softer, and there is actually a bypass for this one, which is probably a little bit of a sign, but we did both make it through, no problem, although I sent it way too hard, and that's just a reminder that it's easy to get overconfident when you go through a puddle and it's super easy and you're like, no big deal, and you just hit the next one without thinking about it, and that's what I did. But we made it through without incident. And we did make it to camp, and our light is fading, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to show you, but the campsite is absolutely gorgeous. It's right by the river at the end of this spur road, and given the day that we had today and the inclement weather and the rain that we faced, we could not have asked for a better end to the day. So I think at this point, we're just going to relax. It's getting a little late. We're hungry. I'm going to make us some dinner, and we're going to sit by the fire, enjoy some drinks, and just unwind after what turned out to be a pretty long day. And oh yeah, here's what our camp looks like. All right, so for breakfast today, Dave has been kind enough to make McGriddles, and to be honest, I'm super stoked about this. The first McGriddle I ever had was 2 days ago on the drive down here, and I think this one's gonna blow it away, but there's only one way to find out, so see what you got. There's a lot of McGriddle in my mouth right now. And it's very delicious. 10 out of 10. This is an incredible campsite, and I can't think of a better reward for having to come up with an alternate plan and drive further up north to get out of the inclement weather that we were dealing with further south yesterday. And I think it's just hilarious that by coming to the Hoh Rainforest, one of the rainiest parts of the United States, we got more favorable weather. But hey, sometimes that's the way it goes. And so we've really just been enjoying not getting dumped on this morning. The sounds of the river and the clouds breaking up overhead. It's just truly special. And it's another reminder of how incredible the Olympic Peninsula is. And I feel like that's especially true this time of year because it's so much more difficult to access the Cascades and anything at a higher elevation that will just be snowed over. So it's nice to be able to get down by a river where there's no snow and you can camp in the winter And man, the Olympic Peninsula, I know I say it every time I'm here, but it's just such an incredible place. But anyway, I think that's gonna do it for this video. But before I go, I wanna give a huge shout out to David from Off the Grind, because he really helped put this trip together. And when we were dealing with inclement weather yesterday, he had the idea to reroute us further up north, and it worked out so very well. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then be sure to check out this playlist next, because we've got a ton of videos exploring around the Pacific Northwest, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.